And good morning. So, I, it's just gonna be a basic bit show this morning, guys. We're gonna have a cup of coffee. We're gonna chit chat a little bit. I've got Mario back with us, and y'all are gonna basically watch he and I have a cup of coffee and chit chat. Uh, say good morning to some people in the chat here. I see Megan's with us. Good morning, sunshine. And Megan, that's twice consecutively has drawn first blood. I see the band hammer out there, old Stevie. And I've got Uncle Steve here, so I've got both Steves, proper and other. Uh, I see. Let's see who else is here. Patrick's with us this morning. Good morning, brother. Steve said, "Hit." Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
3 minutes after we should have started, Steve said, "Hit the button, fat boy. We know you're there."
Because we did a
That's
hot three we
that's
did a
fair.
hot 3 minutes of prep for this show.
Yeah, we did.
So only the finest. We did.
So, a little quick housekeeping. Um, man, stuff's going on, y'all. I slept in this morning. Believe it or not, I did not roll out of bed until about a quarter to six this morning because I was up until a little after midnight. Uh, I Steve says audio not present. Oh dear. Okay, let me check settings and
As in, there's no audio.
Steve says audio not present. Uh, I'm showing audio lines here. Steve, I'm gonna have to ask you to
In
amend
the in
that.
the in
Are
the
you hearing
chat,
nothing?
in the chat, give us a one if you can hear us, two if you can't hear us.
Comdo, comdo.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
We got a 5-5. All right.
we got 5 by 5. We're rocking and rolling. Okay, that's you'd always spot a vet when they throw the 5 by 5 on the com check. So I don't know what's wrong with you, Steve. Maybe you need to get your ears looked at. Uh, my hearing aid saved my marriage. But anyway, so yeah, I was up late last night. I shot a ballet this weekend. Uh, it was the Wizard of Oz, and it only took me 4 hours to finish the color grading, audio sync, multi-camera synchronization, and a rough cut on the first act.
Mm.
And then John Byrne called, and I was on the phone with him for
That dude's been. I've been trying to call
just
that
never
guy
shuts
for
up.
months. What's up with him? Well, actually, no. Talk to me offline about that.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
talk. We'll talk later about that. In fact, I'll give you a call as soon as the show. Well,
Okay.
yeah, we'll talk offline. Um, but Uncle Steve says Chris gets top comment for hearing aids changed my marriage. Yeah. Okay. You know what? Let me tell you a story. Right. I'm a disabled vet. Mario's had some interaction with the VA. And I know there's a few disabled vets in our usual audience, and it y'all the VA gets a bad rap. They do, and much of it is well deserved. But I have had I've had positive and negative experiences at the VA. Like negative experiences. One time I was at the VA and I was waiting in line for something and I had to deal with one of their administrators before I could complete XYZ task. And I get in there, there's this great big old, I mean, if he weighed 400 pounds if he weighed an ounce, sitting in an office chair that was clearly complaining about the ever broadening expanse of his jelly rolls flopping over the armrests. Like, y'all, I'm a big boy. I am. But this was 10 pounds of shit in a 4 pound bucket, right? And he's just kind of like he's all slopped back at his desk with his hand on the 10K. Give me your social.
Yeah. He doesn't need a chair. He needs like a dais with like grapes, grapes and wine
Yeah.
around him,
And he
and personal attendants. He needs.
and he starts typing, right? I told him my social and he types in about the first three or four numbers and fell asleep. And I'm just standing there staring at this dude for like 5 minutes, thinking, no, is it? I was this close to reaching over and poking him to see if it was dead. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden he goes, he snores himself awake and he looks at me and he demands my social again. Like, I said, give me your social. Like I fucked up. I'm like, yo, that's no. But at the same time, like when I first got my hearing aids, y'all, I knew that my hearing was that I had lost some capacity. I knew that my hearing had deteriorated. I understood that I could not hear as well as I did when I was younger. But then I got my hearing aids, and I found myself walking out of the office with my new hearing aids in, walking down the hallway on my way out of the building, and there was this sound, this kind of swishing, and I'm like, and I'm looking around like, what the hell is? And I stopped right there in the hall, and I looked down, and I took a couple more steps forward, and I looked up, and there was just some random dude walking by in the hallway, and I looked at him and I said, "Is that my fucking pants?" Like
What?
I, I had been deaf. I had been that deaf for so long, but until I heard them with the new hearing aids in, I just didn't realize that your pants make a sound when you're walking.
So you were operating in you
I
were
just didn't
operating in like
understand what
stealth
was
mode.
happening. Like,
You thought you were stealthy for years until you got your hearing aids. Yeah. You're,
oh, like even now,
my
like the fan in the computer makes a noise. It's audible. If I don't
yeah,
have my hearing aids in, I can't hear it. If I have my hearing aids in, I can't tolerate it.
my ex-wife complained that my hearing was bad and wanted me to get hearing aids, but I didn't really buy it because the only person that I couldn't hear what she was saying was my ex-wife. So I think she may have been gaslighting me by just speaking at a specific tone that she knew wouldn't register with me. But that's a. I'm not going to even get into any more of that.
Yeah, anytime my
So
wife says anything and I don't and I'm not sure if I heard it clearly the first time, I just look at her and I say, "I love you too, baby."
I think if you're with someone every single day, every day of the year, then at some point you get like a baseline kind of signal jammer that just keeps the noise floor like at a manageable level. You know what I mean? The important things come through.
Well, with little kids, like Ellie's 4, little kids love to whisper secrets in your ear.
Yeah.
Not the one you want. Not with hearing aids in. Nope. Because it's just yeah, right, and it's so your hearing aids. You don't hear with your ear hole. You hear with the microphone that's on the back of them.
Okay.
So somebody runs up behind you and starts shouting at you. It's because hearing aids don't restore your hearing. They press a speaker against your eardrum.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's literally just a speaker blasting the tympanic membrane. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's a
Yeah.
very it's quite different than having your hearing back.
Yeah.
And
No,
sometimes that makes all the difference. So
nothing's gonna bring back your cilia. They've been pounded to dust
yeah, basically yeah.
by explosions.
So okay, this is a bit of a stretch, but speaking of injuries as sustained in service, Mario, tell us about the first time you went in the gas chamber.
First time I went in the gas chamber. This is a trial that everybody has to go through during basic training. All right, and the drill sergeants do a pretty good job of psyching it up for you, like letting you know that it's about to happen to you. You're about to be victimized, and we are going to enjoy watching it. In fact, usually the company commander is there filming it for his own personal amusement.
Yeah, and
Um,
and at the end of the day,
yeah,
what they're going to do is they're going to put you in a room, they're going to lock the door, and then they're
mhm,
going to flood the room with liquid pain.
right. And there is a drill sergeant in the room, but he's wearing a pro mask, so he's not affected. And he's gassing you. And it's not like your personal reaction, like my personal reaction to it was typical. Like I can't breathe, and I've got, my entire sinuses are getting evacuated all over my face and neck. Okay. But the biggest problem with it is the other people in the room with you, okay, who are less tolerant, okay, to physical displeasure, having an absolute, like, I had this like little, like, 5 foot tall black chick literally crawling up my back, okay, because she was standing behind me, like, because we're just, there's like five to seven of us in there, like single file, and this chick is literally crawling up my back like some kind of like rat trapped in a ship that's sinking, trying anything to escape. And I'm like, what? And the women scream, which is always funny. And
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. If you ever doubted that there was a biological difference between men and women, go
Mhm.
watch that activity once.
Yeah, with the men, you get like a deep groaning and personal misery. You know what I mean? But
See, and that's when you do it in basic, and they use the bitch dose, right? It's like 1/10 of what the grenade puts out.
Mhm.
And then later, you, I don't know, your unit was more analytic than the one I was in. Did you ever go back in the chamber after basic?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, 25th ID we did, of course.
Yeah,
Um,
I,
yeah,
I
but
should
that,
think I
that
should
that was
hope
it.
so.
After 25th, there was no more gas chamber. Hell, there was hardly any more range, to be honest, which is sad. But Fort
Oh,
Meade,
that's unfortunate.
Fort Meade will kill your soul. Don't, if you can avoid going to Fort Meade if you're in the army, especially if you're in military intelligence, fucking do it. I'd rather be doing motor pool Monday than that shit on a daily basis. Fucking daycare for day. It's basically children's daycare for people who can't get in the building because they have something compromising on their record or they're foreign. You know what I mean? So that's what I did for a long time at Fort Meade. Hated it. So did you want to mention? Did you
See,
want to
we
touch
we
on
would
the?
do it like the Delta company that I was with in Hawaii, dude. We did the range quarterly instead of
Mhm.
annually, and
Yep.
we would do the entire arsenal, not just the M4s or the M16s. We do the main battle rifles, we do the sidearms, the M9s. We'd break out the Maw Deuce,
Yeah.
and we'd do fam fire with 40 mics, and break out the 240s and the 249s. It was glorious,
Yeah.
like fresh
As part of the intelligence and sustainment company under the headquarters and headquarters battalion of 25th ID, we were on like the super basic bitch R4 Gen cycle. So it was the minimum. You know what I mean? Just the minimum.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I don't know. It's partly my fault. I played the PCS lottery when I was in the army, just hoping that I would get decent assignments, and maybe I should have been a little more proactive. But whatever, that's in the past. Yep.
Sergeant Major says Fort Meade was an experience for me. Yeah, I remember your Fort Meade experience, old man. They they ran out of uh, they ran out of officer quarters for the old man, so they just gave him two houses, or two apartments that were connected to each other.
Nice.
And the sprawl, and we went on this fantastic fishing trip. Uh, but the the reason I bring that up, and we can let this conversation drift into the Palestine Israel stuff a little bit, but
Mhm.
frankly, I just want to share some video. Oh wait, what the hell? What the hell just happened? Oh, we're on the Restream studio setup, not the open broadcast studio setup, so everything works differently.
Yes, but look, videos of college students getting gassed will never get old. Go ahead and play. Yeah, play something.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah,
Open your eyes, open your eyes. Open your eyes. Look up, open your eyes.
yeah, they're falling apart over this stuff, man. Oh. Gotcha, bitch.
he looks like the shapeshifter from Deep Space Nine. He looks like
Oh, Oto.
yeah.
What was his name?
I don't know. Anyway,
that's
so
that's a great gift.
doesn't this look like a classic example of like my enemies are fighting each other? What shall I do? Like, it's
Yeah, when
uh,
when
it,
your enemy is making a mistake, don't interrupt him. Let him commit his error.
we but we thought that about 2020 though, and we were wrong because then the election stolen, compromised, or fortified, and the biggest problem I had with the 2020 election was that looking at it from a social perspective, like it validated all the riots that had occurred that year because they got what they wanted. Like violence worked for them that year. So, and do you think that these Gaza protests are going to become like the BLM of this election cycle? I mean,
I don't know.
yeah,
Um,
it depends on if they quash it. Like if they just squash it right now, then it will be over. If they let it fester, it could be. But
well,
it doesn't benefit them. So I don't think they're gonna allow it to.
here's the thing. Here's what I think is interesting about these protests is the the establishment, the uniparty, is all in for Israel. Um, the military industrial complex is all in for just how can we get money into our pockets, and the answer that they've come up with to that question is, oh well, it's basically that meme where you see the rockets coming out of Gaza, and then you see the Iron Shield anti-rocket artillery coming out of Israel, and one side says my tax dollars at work, and the other side says somehow also my tax dollars.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're and the same thing's happening in Russia in the Russia Ukraine situation. We are funding both sides of the war, and make no mistake, if
I
if
don't
the
think.
if the enemy is in dire straits and the only money that the U.S. is sending to that side is humanitarian aid, food, medicine, etc. And it's just to help the poor refugees, the poor collateral victims of the war that they have no control. That's still you're still funding their war effort. You are still
Yeah,
offering
yep.
financial material support to their ongoing military activities, and that's what's going on with Russia, Ukraine right now, and with Israel and Gaza right now. And the thing about these protests is they are um,
Well,
the
yes, Bear. That's why they
protesters are
say
protesting
all
on
wars.
behalf of Gaza. They're protesting on behalf of the other side. Now, like I said I think it was last Thursday, I talked about this stuff, and I pointed out, I've been reluctant, not reluctant, I've been uninterested. I don't particularly care to talk about the situation over there because at the end of the day, my basic position is this: I don't care
Yeah,
if Gaza and Israel made a glass parking lot out of one another.
mhm,
That doesn't
yep.
bother me at all. I'm not saying I want them all dead.
Thank you, Bear.
I'm saying
Yes.
I don't care if they all die.
Mhm.
It doesn't make a difference to me. It, at least insofar as where the question of what's done with the money that's stolen from me is answered. As far as that question is answered, my answer is uh, fix my potholes.
I'm correct. Correct. It's I don't know. The government is allergic to spending money within its own country, like for infrastructure or for. I mean, like just cut everyone a check for $10,000 at this point with all that money you're sending overseas. I mean, fuck the inflation. It would help a lot of people. Like just pull them above water. But anyway, so yeah, as far as the Israel-Palestine issue, I mean, Israel was founded in 1947, right? And it's been nonstop war between Israel and Palestine since then. These people have been killing each other since before my parents were born, and they'll be killing each other long after I'm dead. Um, I'm tired of it. And after being, the worst possible neighbors with each other for the past 50 years, maybe they deserve each other. And I, like I said, one side wants to glass the other. That's fine. Just please leave me out of it. I'm over it. I'm not one of those Schofield Bible heretics who believes that we have to bless Israel as well.
Yeah, personally, I've got nothing to get, taking the money away from it. I've got no real problem with Israel. I've got some concerns about our general involvement and entanglement with Israel. And then on the other side, you've got Hamas, literally a terrorist organization with whom I've traded bullets personally.
Mm.
And so, I do feel a certain kind of way about some of that. But at the end of the day, that's over there, and I like my money.
Yep.
I like my money more than I like somebody else's children, honestly.
As yes, as the social situation continues to decline within my own country, my concern about foreign affairs diminishes, proportionately, and
So
that's absolute fact.
so what we're seeing with these protests who are all going, they're not just pro Gaza, they're not just pro Palestine, free Palestine, et cetera, et cetera. These young
That's true.
white college kids are screaming, I am Hamas. We are Hamas. They are pro Muslim terrorists. They are in active support of Muslim terrorists, right? And what's interesting about that, as far as what you were talking about, vis-a-vis the 2020 riots, is they're not rioting for the right thing.
Correct. This is a
In
manifestation of that same thread where it's not really about Israel Palestine is kind of a proxy for them. Okay, in reality, it's anti-white cultural Marxist protests. Okay, they're
yes,
protesting Israel not because they're Jewish, which is the claiming that they're anti-Semites is ridiculous. They're not thinking about it that way. They're too basic for that. Okay, they're thinking about it as a white colonial power is basically wreaking havoc upon brown people overseas. Okay, that's the heart of their argument, and that's what they're arguing about. I spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time each day on 4chan. I work from home and I can basically lurk, at my leisure. And some of like our guys have tried to infiltrate. Like they're looking at it like, hey man, maybe this is a vector for us to get involved, right? Because we have the same enemies per se. Like, um, but no, they show up and they get attacked or they get screamed at or they're the ones who get arrested. Okay, because it's anti-white. That's the heart of it.
right.
And you have to. It's basically BLM. It's the same. It's the same like firmware that will be running the mass psychosis behind BLM, but it's just been given a quick update to just replace cops with Israel. That's all it is. They they're they're drones and they operate under the same drone tactics that the BLM and Antifa types did.
Yep. Yeah. I,
Basically
I I
NPCs.
don't
They're
have
fucking
anything to
they're,
add to
they're
that. Basically,
NPCs. They're fucking NPCs. Okay, they get the firmware update and then they go off with the latest psyop.
so okay, and okay, I talked about this in I talked about a piece of this in detail on Thursday with the direct action committees, the direct action units, rather. These are small groups that meet in secret to plan the protests, and what what they do is they just they get as many bodies as they can in one spot, and then attempt to agitate a violent response within a group of people who, frankly, don't know what they're talking about, what they're even doing there. I showed a video clip from one young lady that was interviewed, and the clip was especially telling because the interviewer walks up and starts asking her, "What are we protesting about? What are you? What are your demands? What is it that you guys want?" And she really just had no idea why they were there. And then she said, "Well, I mean, basically, we heard that Columbia needed our support, and so here we are at Columbia University." And then she asked another protester that was standing right next to her, "Do you know what we're protesting?" And the other
Yeah,
protest, "Well, I
I
got
saw that.
no," right, and that happens. That's the bulk of them.
Yeah.
So Cameron and I have discussed this on the show before, and I think you and I have talked about it
That's like it's like
offline once or twice.
real quick. When you
The
hear them
mob,
screaming,
the
the
mob
whole
needs
system is
support.
guilty. Like that's that type of mentality. It's just
Right.
I am against whatever you got. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. What are you against? What do you got?
Yep.
And it goes, what they're counting on is this thing that Cameron and I think you and I have talked about it offline once or twice. but the mob threshold, right? Every human being has a mob threshold, and that's how many people have to be involved in a thing before you just can't help but get involved.
Yeah.
So a similar thing has been discussed by economic scholars uh, and political scholars vis-a-vis the welfare state. And there is a legitimate concern there. There are some good arguments to be made for having a welfare state, to a safety net for those least capable. And if you're hearing that from somebody like me, please believe I'm talking about somebody who has been severely injured through no fault of their own, or was born incapable. There is such a thing as a person with such a low IQ that they cannot be usefully employed in any way. And that one might argue, well, we should just dispose of these people because they're a drain on the whole generally. But like, the biggest problem obviously with that argument isn't even the question of, well, it's just inhumane to kill off all your retards. No, the real problem with that position is, okay, but who decides what the determining factor is, what the threshold for disposal is, right? And that's a very different problem. So there is a good argument for some level of social safety net. But what happens when more than half of the population is suckling at the teat of that safety net, and less than half is paying the freight for it? Well, the simple answer is fucking Greece. We saw Greece basically flip upside down over not having enough working tax-paying contributors funding their overburdensome what's the word I'm looking for? Their overburdensome pension obligations.
Yeah.
They and it's happening in China. It's
And
I've even put forward the theory that one of the reasons that we saw COVID go so ape shit crazy in places like New York City is because part of the pandemic was to call out some of the very expensive elderly in those denser aging populations. And I stick to that. I think that
the
was
other
part of the plan.
the third aspect of the Greek economic meltdown and the subsequent riots was the free university system there. And basically you've got young people who are in college for like 7+ years, basically some of the prime working years of their young lives they're spending
Right.
as students. Okay, and that only increases the capacity for radicalism. So
And yeah, and then you come out of a college. No one comes out of college useful, right? If you go and get your education in, it could be one of the highly specific technical hard science degrees.
Mhm.
And I guarantee you, the first job you get with that degree, you are going to spend at least the first 6 months in on the job training, because it's one thing to say, I know how to science. It's a very different thing to say, I know how to science for this company,
yeah.
right? Um, unless you come out and go straight entrepreneur, then you're not coming out of a university as a useful entity.
You can only do that if you already have money. So
Correct.
yeah.
And what Mario just said, you can only do that if you already have money. That's not even you have to be a rich man's son. No, you can come out and walk into investors, but if you in order to do that, you started that process before you came out. You've been in that process and ongoing for some time, right? You come out and you've already been through the on the job training through an internship with a company so that you can hire on right when you graduate. Then my point still stands, because it was not the university that made you useful. It was the on the job training. Now, I'm not saying that there's no value to be had in a university education. there is value to be had there. They have resources that are there that you should abuse if you have access to them. But okay, this could turn into a whole. I lost the thread of where I
Yeah,
was going
because
with the
now I
humanities.
want to go into the, I wish that the humanities had value because, degrees in the humanities are what kind of maintains culture and that social cohesion, and that's completely fallen to shit under cultural Marxism. And yeah, we could meander on
Sergeant
that.
Major says, "Are you saying two LTs is useless?" Yes.
The two LTs are stem cells. Okay,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can be they can be augmented into great warriors, or they can
Yeah.
they can
A
shell
two
the shit.
LT is a malleable paperweight that
Yeah.
requires a D5 or greater to mold into a useful
Mhm.
pseudo NCO whose eventual destination is the doomed life of being merely a rubber stamp for better men.
That's right. That's right. But yes, the 2LT has he has great potential. By the time if he's got the right enlisted personnel around him, he'll become a great officer. By the time he's a lieutenant colonel, and then he'll get noticed by DC and turned into a swamp creature. And then,
Yeah. Oh, you remember Master Gunnery Sergeant Dobbs at DLI?
you mean
Like,
master guns, the
yeah,
Marine master guns?
the Master Guns from the
Crawl
Marine
up my
Corps.
service stripes and kiss my ass. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crawl up my service stripes and kiss my ass. You'd hear the stories like, did you hear Master Guns killed 9 dudes with an E-tool in Vietnam?
Oh
And
yeah.
and you're like, okay, that's just kind of funny, water cooler. And then you look at his eyes, you're like, nope,
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
did it.
he was one of those people who had like actual tangible presence around him. Like
Yeah,
even if you didn't see him, if you were within a 10-foot radius of him, you felt him. You,
yes, like that old movie City Slickers. The first time you see the legit cowboy that's gonna run the crew, he shows
yeah,
up and Bill Crystal says, "Oh my God, did you see him? He, the man looks like a saddlebag with eyes." That was Master Guns.
yep,
You'd see him across the quad. He'd show, "Hoorah, Master Guns!" And he would reply, "Hoorah!"
yep. Probably the second most enigmatic personality I probably met there was the Irish infantry captain who was our company commander, and you
Yes,
could and you could tell
Captain
that
Fergal J. O'Reilly.
yes, and you could tell that he had just come from some like 2 consecutive like ugly deployments. Like
Yeah, we were
they
an
sent him to
intelligence.
DLI to chill him out.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were an intelligence training unit, and Captain Fergal J. O'Reilly shows up, and they do his change of command, and they get down to the signature block, and the signature block says Captain Fergal J. O'Reilly, infantry commanding.
Yeah.
Yep,
You remember
yep,
that? You
got
remember
it.
that one? You remember that one night? It was St. Patrick's Day. You and I and some friends
Yes,
we were out drinking. Okay, having a
yes.
good time, and then we saw him. He was out in
I
public.
didn't know
Okay,
you could
he
fit that
looked
many
like
fucks into one sentence.
yeah, like he was drunk as shit, and it turned his eyes into like fucking like steel reinforced laser beams. Okay, but he looked like the specter of death, like lurking around the bar. Like
But he came over and slapped us all on the back and hugged everybody. And, oh, you fucking guys, I'm so fucking proud to fucking see my fucking guys out in public.
yeah.
You fucking beautiful bastard. And it was
Hmm.
like, this guy sounded like a potato sucker off the boat. I mean, I
Hmm.
love, and I ran into Captain O'Reilly. Oh, no, you were with me for this. We ran into him at the mosh pit at Ozfest in San Jose.
No, wasn't that was the sergeant major. That was the young sergeant major.
No, it was Captain O'Reilly and First Sergeant Messenger.
That's who I'm thinking. I'm thinking first
Yeah,
sergeant messenger.
it was those two, and we ran into them at the mosh pit at Ozfest. I think Disturbed was on the stage,
Hmm.
and I'd gone into the mosh pit in sandals, and somebody stepped on my heel and broke my sandals. So I stepped out and I threw my sandals. I threw my sandals to the first sergeant. I said, "Hey, Top, hold on to these." And I went back into the mosh pit barefoot, and that was the safety brief on Monday morning.
Yeah.
To be clear, I was fine, but
I
we
saw
we got we got to talking to about how that's a bad idea.
Yeah, I remember that. I saw you house some fucking System of a Down fans like in barefoot. That was great.
You know, I'm too old and broken to do it now, but in my youth, there
Yeah.
were few things that brought me greater joy than juggling skater punks in a mosh pit.
You,
As soon as their feet leave the ground, they get this look on their face that's just precious.
your your genetic memory is that of like a Celtic warrior who would have outsized his opponent standing at the vanguard and basically just waiting to crush into the like just the melee
Oh yeah,
charge.
oh no,
Yeah,
mom pulled him up through one of those genealogy checks. His name was Hrothgar the Unmanageable.
it's better than Ethelred the Unready.
Well, brother, we've run 10 minutes over. I could do this all day, but I've got shit to do. So, a little bit of housekeeping, Mario. I'm gonna put you in the background for a minute and then
Okay,
close out the show. But don't go
ciao.
away yet. Okay, so thanks for showing up, Mario. Good show this morning. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. This was kind of a last minute throw together type of show, just hanging out and bullshit. And we do this every now and then. Because let me tell you something, live is hard mode. Coming up with a fresh new topic, writing a description, doing the thumbnail, all that. That's a lot of work in the morning for to do a 30-minute show. Now that said, across the coming weeks and months, I suspect that I'm going to be going a full hour or even longer because things are about to change in my life generally, not least of which is it looks like we're on track to close on a new house tomorrow where I will be building a new studio and making some big changes in life generally. And for that reason, not doing a show tomorrow because I've got to be at the closing attorney's office at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And it's a bit of a slog. If I'm being honest, I could probably do the show and leave right after the show and make it there on time tomorrow. But I'm not going to fuck with it. So we'll be back on Thursday. That said, over the next couple weeks, because I'm going to take my sweet time at moving and kind of I'm going to throw away a bunch of stuff and try to get a little better organized moving into the new place and try and get the kids into some better habits. Um, but I suspect that I should be able to do the show almost every morning between now and then. Not for reasons not least of which include I've still got editing projects. So while we're moving, I've still also got work to do. So the last thing I'm going to do is break down the studio and move it. And I'm I'm hoping the way that's going to work is maybe Wednesday or Thursday of next week. I do the show, I sign off, tell you guys I love you and I'll see you tomorrow. I tear all this shit down, throw it in the truck, and go set it up at the new place. And I'm ready to stream live the following day. But I ain't gonna make you no promises on that. What I'm instead, what I might even do Firearms Friday, tear it down, and then have the weekend to set it up, and then see you back on Monday. But we'll see how that all that shakes out. So I say all that to say I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I will miss you guys. Thanks for watching this morning. We love you, and we will see you on Thursday.